There is nothing you can do that can't be done. So said John Lennon, who founded the Beatles in 1957. And this painting here, the song was All You Need Is Love. Wouldn't that be a great motivational starter for motivational speakers? I'll say it again. There is nothing you can do that can't be done. And this had the biggest television audience of all time in the BBC studios in 1967, where the Rolling Stones and Marianne Faithfull were sitting at John Lennon's feet. But John Lennon, the founder of the Beatles, and so many classic songs. But a lot of the songs about the Beatles were all about love. And John Lennon, of course, fell in love with this beautiful lady here called Brigitte Bardot, the famous French actress who does an awful lot for animal welfare and is still alive, lives down in Saint Tropez. But he had this picture on his bedroom wall. But he wrote such classic songs, and his mother gave him a banjo, but he lived with his Auntie Mimi when he was aged 4. And he went and lived with Auntie Mimi. And, a lot of the songs, as I said, was all about love. She Loves You, when the great Ozzy Osbourne of Black Sabbath fame, when he heard that song, he wanted to become a musician. Now, his favourite song was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. But as I said, John Lennon wrote an awful lot of songs about love, as the Beatles did. But some of the love was painful love. For example, Mother, I never had you, but you had me. Some of it, as I said, was painful love as well. But some of his classics, like I Am the Walrus, and then the brilliant song, one of the greatest of all time, A Day in the Life. And you should have a look at the episode of the Beatles' greatest ever song. That's another episode to have a look at. And also look at the very first episode we did, which we've got the highest views, is all about John Lennon and when he was shot dead December 8, 1980 by Mark David Chapman. But that episode it's episode 1, John Lennon, and it's just about all the things that John Lennon did, the peace campaigning, and all he did after the Beatles. So it's not about Beatles songs, but it's more about John Lennon's life in New York with Yoko Ono. But a couple of things I didn't agree with John Lennon with the Beatles. He brought Yoko Ono in to the studios when they were recording, and Paul McCartney didn't like her. Now, Paul McCartney was the hardest working Beatle, and you can see there's different episodes each week going up about the Beatles, and we've lots of more. But I didn't like when he brought Yoko Ono. It's like bringing somebody into the dressing room of a football. If a woman's team, they bring their boyfriend or girlfriend in. I didn't agree with that. I thought he was wrong. And he even brought in a bed when she was sick. Now, George Martin, he described John Lennon as the Salvatore Dali of the Beatles. And Dali, what did he say? I don't do drugs, I am drugs. But of course, on the Sgt. Pepper, the classic album in 1967, if you look closely here, you'll see the great Irish writer Oscar Wilde, because that was their heroes. And John Lennon's, one of his big heroes, was the great Irish writer Oscar Wilde on the classic Sgt. Pepper album. But of course, he produced huge amount. And there they are, dressed in all their costumes. And it was actually Paul McCartney's idea. He came up with the idea. But of course, such brilliant, brilliant songs, which changed music really. But John Lennon, peace campaigner, classic, had just come back out of retirement, where he was a recluse for 5 years. I Am the Walrus, what a great song. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Ozzy Osbourne's favourite song. But just so many classic after classic, and without doubt, the greatest artist of the 20th century. So just to let you know, it's important, if you like our channel, please subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. But also stay with me for a sec, because for some of the future episodes, we're going to be covering Pink Floyd. We're going to cover Led Zeppelin, the classic English band, The Who, and so many more bands will be coming up in the future. In October, we're going to film where John Lennon's grave is. So that's a secret. But please feel free to subscribe, as it doesn't cost anything and it shows you like our channel. So talk to you next week. Thanks everybody, and peace.